What's up, guys? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakridgeFord.com. Ford employee pricing wraps up at the end of September. If you're interested in getting your mitts on a brand new Ford or trading the one you have in or moving from the product line you're currently driving into a Ford, you need to do it now because low interest rates and Ford employee pricing together are for a deal. Inventory, that's another story. You can get at me at I am Norman James on Twitter. Mike, good afternoon, my friend. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue on. It looks like Dallas is going to be representing the West, and I think Tampa's going to win the whole darn thing, and they're still going at it with the Islanders. Give us your thoughts on the Final Four.
Yeah, Dallas, even though I think they've been outplayed the last two games, they find ways to win. They've got some veteran savvy with guys like Pavelski and Corey Perry and one of the best young defensemen, and Miro Heiskanen and Khudobin. I thought there was no chance that they could win in the playoffs with Khudobin instead of Ben Bishop, but Khudobin's been fantastic. And Vegas, I think, is, even though they've dominated play, they haven't been able to cash it in. And when you can't score goals on a 5-on-3 down by one goal in the third period, you have nobody to blame but yourself.
That's Dallas, though, right, Mike? I mean, they look like they're the afterthought half the time against their opponents because they're not flashy. Yet they tend to win games because defense is the word.
Yeah, they're opportunistic, but they seem to be able to play any type of style. I mean, they only really scored 180 goals during the regular season, but then they played a wide open series against Colorado. So now they're playing, more of a strapped down defensive style against Vegas, because that's what Vegas makes you do. You can't open it up against them because I think they're better offensively, but they're playing more of a tight game against them, and they're succeeding. And in the East, I agree. I think Tampa's the class now. They lost Braden Point. He's back today. They lost Killorn to a suspension. He's back today. And some injuries on the Islanders side. Cizikas and a couple other players are playing hurt. So in the end, I think Tampa's going to win that series and probably win it all, but it should be entertaining.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oakridge Ford. If you're listening to us through YouTube, hit the sub button. We're going to get to your comments in community in just a moment. Corey Perry started his career, Mike, coming out of vaulting out of London, first-round pick, and then 2007, when that Brian Burke team won the built by Brian Murray. He won a Stanley Cup early in his career, and now he's I wouldn't say a passenger, but he's a contributor, not the main guy. And wouldn't that be something? As if in the twilight of his career he can go ahead and win something with the Dallas Stars.
I mean, he's a pain in the ass to play against, and that's one of the things I like about him. And he stirs the pot, and he gets under the skin of the opposition. And he won as a young guy in 2007, as you mentioned, and now I think in the twilight of his career, he went to Dallas thinking, I got one or two chances to win another cup. And him and Pavelski, who spent his entire career in San Jose and came close a few years ago, I think that's what's fueling Dallas. I mean, they have some really good players like Ben and Sagan, and like I said, Heiskanen as a defenseman. But they're getting contributions from those veteran guys.
Do the Leafs have any kind of player in the same mold?
No, they don't. And I think that's one of their shortcomings. I think the acquisition of Kyle Clifford at the end of the year, not that Clifford has ever been the type of scorer that Perry was in the past, but I think that was a step in the right direction in terms of bringing in a character guy who would stir it up and would fight a battle if they needed a battle fought for. Was a step in the right direction. And I think that Kyle Dubas is recognizing of that fact, because I would find it hard to believe that they don't go out and find some character guys to add on the bottom six, or even somebody who could play in the top six, but you don't know if that's possible.
Corey Perry won the Hart in 2010, 2011, also won the goal scoring title back then. Quite the career for a player like that. Wayne Simmonds isn't exactly Corey Perry, but here we go again, his name being linked to the Maple Leafs. Yeah, there's the local connection. But this isn't the first time we've heard Simmonds and the Leafs and a potential future between the two.
Yeah, I mean, previously, I don't think it was realistic. There'd always been chatter about when Philadelphia was rebuilding whether they would trade Simmonds. And a couple of years ago, they did trade Simmonds to Nashville. And at this point in his career, I know that there's been some injury situations. He's been a journeyman in the last 2 years, going from Philly to Nashville to New Jersey to Buffalo. in an article Pierre LeBrun wrote in The Athletic, Simmonds essentially said, I've been hurt the last 2 years. I've spent all this time getting back into shape, getting back 100% healthy. He's looking for an opportunity. And we know that right now there are going to be veterans scrambling for jobs. And I think the Leafs, if there is an opportunity with Simmonds in Toronto, and like I said, that's been rumored for a long time, and it was brought up in the piece by LeBrun, he would probably be amenable, but it's a question of whether he's looking to make money or if he's looking at a chance to win a cup. And if it's a chance to win the cup, if it's the Leafs, it's probably going to be a league minimum deal like Jason Spezza signed with last year, so $700,000 or less than $1 million, because that's the only way I think the Leafs are going to bring in veteran players is on a bare minimum deal.
Yeah, and wanting to win a Stanley Cup, is Toronto the right place to play? Here we are talking about how the Leafs are so far away from hoisting the damn thing, and you've got players out there who may think that the Leafs are one or two players, including themselves, away from taking that leap from pretenders to true contenders. I don't know. Clearly, Wayne Simmonds would have to be part of an ensemble that joins this team. He's also in the mold of a player that we never figured Kyle Dubas would attempt to acquire, but we've already discussed on recent podcasts that Kyle Dubas may be shuffling the deck in his own mind as to how he wants to put a team together.
Yeah, like I said, I think Dubas recognizes the shortcomings of this team. He recognizes that the top six is one of the best in the league, but that they need help. They need a support structure. And, Simmonds, throughout his career, has been a leader on a team. He's been a well-liked teammate, and he's been effective in a particular role. Now, he's never going to score 30 goals again. If you get 15 goals out of a third, fourth line guy, paying him league minimum, those contracts are worth their weight in gold. And with a flat cap this year and a lot of teams having an internal cap that will be lower than $81.5 million, the Leafs are going to be one of the teams that is going to have an advantage because they will spend to the cap. And the perception is out there, even though they failed in the playoffs the last 4 years, that with one or two additions, this team could win. So I think they're going to, the same way they used that possibility and the fact that the player could play in Toronto, and Spezza was from Toronto and Simmonds is from the Toronto area, mm-hmm. That's going to be an attractive get for some of these players.
Yeah, Travis wondering in community, who do you think the Leafs target via free agency or trade to fill out the bottom six? If Simmonds is in play, does Spezza return?
Well, Simmonds is a right winger and Spezza is a center. So I really think that Spezza did play some wing, but I think that Spezza would be.
But not even positionally.
Yeah, no,
in terms of the experience and the type of guy you're bringing in and using up that, tertiary money on a player like that, would you consider bringing Spezza back and Simmonds?
I honestly think that Spezza was a success story last year, and I think that they think that he could be that again. And if he's willing to take a league minimum deal, I don't see a problem there. I think that they're going to take advantage of the fact that it's an attractive situation to come into Toronto. And they may be fighting off players with a stick to come in there. I think they can use more than one guy. And not just Jason Spezza, but Simmonds and maybe a couple other players. You don't know whether a guy like Barabanov is going to be a success. You don't know if players like Korshkov or Adam Brooks are going to be successful in pushing for NHL jobs. When you have a chance to get a veteran player who's a commodity and you know that he can play in the NHL, you go for it.
Maybe the Leafs need to get older. What's wrong with adding some sage and experience and some wisdom? Maybe they do need to get older. Like what are they trending younger for? For what? When is the time that this team plans on, making it past the first round and maybe the second and getting into a conference final? Maybe these young guys up front who are entering their prime need these wise old bastards to help them out. And a Simmonds and a Spezza and then a couple of defensemen who've got some tenure and some experience and success under their belts.
Nobody complained about Patrick Marleau coming to Toronto. But the problem was the third year in that deal. And that third year that brought him to Toronto that he didn't get from anywhere else cost them a first-round pick. And the whole key here is veteran players who can help that core group on a short-term deal.
Yeah, of course, Mike, but does Wayne Simmonds write his own ticket into Toronto? Probably not. Absolutely not. It's all nice and good when you theorize, or these things have to come together. Jess Kaufman, hey guys, all this search for a right-handed D shot. Do we care if he shoots right?
Yeah, we do. Because right now you have potentially 3 defensemen, actually 4 if you include Morgan Riley, but they're not going to play Morgan Riley on the right side. But Dermott, Mikko Lehtinen, and Rasmus Sandin are all left shots who can play the right side. But the question is, do they want them to play the right side, and are they effective on the right side? It was more of a Babcock thing, but you could see, and by the fact that they lost 2 right-hand shots, that they're going to go out in free agency. Like I laugh when I hear these rumors of them trading for, Travis Sanheim, who's a lefty, or them signing TJ Brody, who plays the right side, but he's a lefty. I think being a righty is an important fact for this team. And, they cannot go into the season with Justin Hall and Timothy Liljegren as their only right-hand shot defenseman.
I love the interaction that's happening on community. Like below our posts on YouTube, it's outstanding. The amount of comments, the vast majority of them constructive and useful and cordial. So great job, OGs and converts, new and old, and those who are about to join our ranks. It's amazing. Bruce H., nice to see Matt Martin playing some hockey.
Yeah, and I believe he's got 5 goals in the playoffs. And, that's sort of exhibit A or exhibit B of some of the problems I had with Mike Babcock, because I thought that bringing in Matt Martin when they did, and the type of player that he was something that was needed. And early in his tenure with the Leafs, he was successful. He was able to, defend some of the skill players and play that rough and tumble game. But after a while, Babcock sort of cycled away from Matt Martin, where he's a healthy scratch for half the season. And you can't have a guy making $2.5 million as a healthy scratch. So Dubas had to clean up Lou Lamoriello's mess, so to speak, but the mess was created by Mike Babcock not playing this guy. And you can see he's an effective player playing in the role that he's meant to be, which is a 3rd, 4th line banging winger who can occasionally score a goal. And, I don't think it was a failure of Kyle Dubas not getting anything from Matt Martin. It was a situation where he still had Babcock, and Babcock wasn't going to play him. So, I'm happy for Matt. I'm happy that he's having success. Yeah. But I don't think it was a failure of Kyle Dubas. I think it was more a failure of Lou Lamoriello and to a lesser extent, and mostly Mike Babcock not using the players that were provided to him.
The Islanders are who they are. The Leafs are who they are. The Islanders have taken the route to get to where they are currently, and they've been successful thus far. No ill will towards them. And in terms of the Maple Leafs, I don't know, pound for pound on paper, would anyone who doesn't have skin in the game select the Islanders over the Maple Leafs? Probably not. But the Islanders have gotten it done in the best way they know how, and using all of their capabilities. The Maple Leafs haven't gotten it done. And really, in our opinion, haven't applied all of their capabilities. And even if they had applied all of their talents and, reached the max level of what we think they can do, would it have been enough based on their deficiencies in very important components of the overall package that you need to be successful? Bruce H., nice work. Timberwolf, an OG convert from day one. Murray Lindsay, would you trade Marner for Doughty straight up?
Would I? No, because Doughty, I believe, is 30 or 31, and Marner is 23.
You and your thoughtfulness, Mike.
Yeah, if you're trading a 23-year-old Marner for a 23-year-old Doughty, I would do it, but that's not possible. So I would say no.
2 more from community. Super Coop. I don't know. Hockey ended for me when the Leafs were out. I'm still trying to live down the embarrassment of being a Leaf fan this year. Is it that bad, Mike?
I get a life, really. It's not that bad. Now obviously, Leaf fans want this team to be successful, and the promise of having 2 centers like Tavares and Tavares and Matthews, and a winger like Marner, and a team that has made the playoffs 4 years in a row. They want success, and they're upset that this team hasn't enjoyed success in the postseason. And obviously, if they don't in the next few years, the people who are in management are not going to be there anymore. So, that's the realization here. Fans are getting tired. They want their team to be successful. We'll see if that happens.
It sucks watching other teams play when your team is not, but there will be another season to come. When the puck drops on it, we do not know. But after these playoffs wrap up, there will be a draft and then free agency. And then we're hoping, there's a training camp or some sort of reconfiguration of a season towards the end of the year, but it may actually be pushed back towards the end of the first month of next year. Who knows? And need more cowbell. Hey, guys, who just won the Gregory GM of the year? I wish the Leafs could get a GM that good. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw some comments online regarding Lou winning it. First of all, I don't think he deserved to win it. I think it should have gone to Julien Brisebois of Tampa Bay, and I think it was more a reputation situation. But I also think he let Robin Lehner walk, and they signed Varlamov. He signed Leo Komarov for $3 million a year. Let's look at the entire record before we give him the GM of the Year award, but they gave it to him anyway.
You guys can discuss that below this post on YouTube. You can jump into community. I'm trying to create more activity there, and you guys are coming through for me. The podcast presented by Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario, Ford Employee Pricing, wraps up at the end of the month. At I am Norman James on Twitter, at Mike in Buffalo on Twitter, at the Leafs Convo 2 on Twitter. Any last words, Mike?
The Bills won. That's a good thing. The Yankees won. Mm-hmm. That's a better thing.
Yeah, and the Yankees, what's their situation? Are they going to come together in short order and make a splash here, or are they going to finish behind the Blue Jays and watch a World Series trophy be hoisted in Buffalo?
Remarkably, as soon as some of the injured players started to come back, the Yankees started playing better.
Imagine that, though. Buffalo winning a World Series before the Yankees, at least in the last, I don't know, how many
11
years? It's been that long, eh?
Yep.
Wow, that's long. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Norb.